Hare Krishna, Jaya Jaya Shri Chaitanya, Jaya Nityananda, Jaya Advaita Chandra, Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda, Jaya Jaya Shri Chaitanya, Jaya Nityananda, Jaya Advaita Chandra, Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda, Jaya Jaya Shri Chaitanya, Jaya Nityananda, Jaya Advaita Chandra, Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. We continue reading from Caitanya Caritamrita Adi-Lila. We are on chapter 7, hearing about the glories of the Panchatattva. And we are on text 42. Murkha sannyasi nija dharma nahi jane, bhavukaha iya fere bhavukera sane. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. This Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is an illiterate sannyasi and therefore does not know his real function. Guided only by his sentiments, he wanders about in the company of other sentimentalists. So we were hearing yesterday that how the impersonalists, they were still deriding Lord Chaitanya. The Mayavadi sannyasis, they were deriding him that, oh, you're a sannyasi, you're supposed to be just engaged in studying the books. But here you're just chanting and dancing. So why they're deriding? Because they're not able to understand. We heard that they're not able to understand that the purpose of the entire study is to understand God, to understand absolute truth, to understand Krishna. Vedescha sarver aham eva vedya. Krishna says that in Bhagavad Gita, chapter 15, text 15. So foolish Mayavadis, not knowing that the Krishna consciousness movement is based on a solid philosophy of transcendental science, superficially conclude that those who dance and chant do not have philosophical knowledge. Those who are Krishna conscious actually have full knowledge of the essence of Vedanta philosophy, for they study the real commentary on the Vedanta philosophy, Srimad Bhagavatam, and follow the actual words of the Supreme Personality of Godhead as found in Bhagavad Gita as it is. So some people may criticize the Krishna consciousness movement, saying that you're just chanting and dancing, where is your study? But we have to understand that the Krishna consciousness movement is based on the study of Bhagavad Gita, is based on the principles of Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam. Srimad Bhagavatam is the natural commentary on Vedanta philosophy, on the Vedanta Sutra. Srimad Bhagavatam is also is spoken by Srila Vyasadeva. Srila Vyasadeva spoke it to Sukadev Goswami. Sukadev Goswami is speaking to Parikshit Maharaj that we are hearing. So the Krishna consciousness movement is based in the real philosophy. After understanding the Bhagavad philosophy or Bhagavad Dharma, they become fully spiritually conscious or Krishna conscious, and therefore their chanting and dancing is not material, but is on the spiritual platform. Chanting and dancing. Srila Prabhupada would say, we will chant and dance our way back home, back to Godhead, because this chanting and dancing for the pleasure of the Lord is not material. It is spiritual. It is transcendental. Although everyone admires the ecstatic chanting and dancing of the devotees, who are therefore popularly known as the Hare Krishna people, Mayavadis cannot appreciate these activities because of their poor fund of knowledge. So if we do not have the proper knowledge, we should not deride the devotees. No, we should not, deride them because of our lack of knowledge. E sabashunya prabhu hase mane mane upeksha kariya karo na kaila sambhashane. Hearing all this blasphemy, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu merely smiled to himself, rejected all these accusations, and did not talk with the Mayavadis. As Krishna conscious devotees, we do not like to converse with Mayavadi philosophers simply to waste valuable time. But whenever there is an opportunity, we impress our philosophy upon them with great vigor and success. So Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he is not in a mood to argue with anyone. He was simply ecstatically chanting and dancing and giving love of Godhead to anyone and everyone who was willing to accept it. He did not want to waste his time in argument. Upeksha kariya kaila mathura gamana, mathura dekhiya puna kaila agamana. Thus, neglecting the blasphemy of the Varanasi Mayavadis, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu proceeded to Mathura. And after visiting Mathura, he returned to meet the situation. Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu did not talk with the Mayavadi philosophers when he first visited Varanasi, but he returned there from Mathura to convince them of the real purport of Vedanta. So this is when Lord Chaitanya visits Varanasi, this pastime happens. And then how after he comes back to Varanasi, how the Mayavadi sannyasis get so attracted to him, and then they really understand his position and they become devotees. Kashi te lekhaka shudra Shri Chandra Shekhara Tanra Gare Rahila Prabhu Swatantra Ishwara. This time Lord Chaitanya stayed at the house of Chandrasekhar, although he was regarded as a Shudra or Kayastha. For the Lord, as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, is completely independent. Lord Chaitanya stayed at the house of Chandrasekhar, a clerk, although a sannyasi is not supposed to reside in a Shudra's house. 500 years ago, especially in Bengal, it was a system that persons who were born in the families of Brahmanas were accepted as Brahmanas, and all those who took birth in other families, even the higher castes, namely the Kshatriyas and Vaishyas, were considered Shudras, non-Brahmanas. Therefore, although Sri Chandrasekhar was a clerk from a Kayastha family in Upper India, he was considered a Shudra. Similarly, Vaishyas, especially those of the Suvarna Vanik community, were accepted as Shudras in Bengal. And even the Vaidyas, who were generally physicians, were also considered Shudras. Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, however, did not accept this artificial principle, which was introduced in society by self-interested men. And later the Kayasthas, Vaidyas, and Vaniks all began to accept the sacred thread despite objections from the so-called Brahmanas. So 500 years ago, the caste system was still very much prevalent in India, and the Brahmanas would consider only the people born in Brahmana family as Brahmanas and everyone else as Shudras. So before the time of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the Suvarna Vanik class was condemned by Balal Sen, who was then the king of Bengal, due to a personal grudge. In Bengal, the Suvarna Vanik class are always very rich, for their bankers and dealers in gold and silver. Therefore, Balal Sen used to borrow money from a Suvarna Vanik banker. Balal Sen's bankruptcy later obliged the Suvarna Vanik banker to stop advancing money to him, and thus Balal Sen became angry and condemned the entire Suvarna Vanik society as belonging to the Shudra community. He tried to induce the Brahmanas not to accept the Suvarna Vaniks as followers of the instructions of the Vedas under the Brahmanical directions. But although some Brahmanas approved of Balal Sen's actions, others did not. Thus, the Brahmanas also became divided amongst themselves, and those who supported the Suvarna Vanik class were rejected from the Brahmana community. At the present day, the same biases are still being followed. So we can see that how just because of a personal controversy, because of personal interest, the king of Bengal of that time, he is just saying, oh, all the Suvarna Varnik, no more, they're all Shudras. Why? Just because he does not want to pay back his debt. So there are many Vaishnava families in Bengal whose members, although not actually born Brahmanas, act as acharyas by initiating disciples and offering the sacred thread as enjoined in the Vaishnava Tantras. For example, in the families of Thakur Raghunandan Acharya, Thakur Krishnadas, Navani Hoda, and Rasikanande, a disciple of Shyamananda Prabhu, the sacred thread ceremony is performed as it is for the caste Goswami, and this system has continued for the past 300 to 400 years, accepting disciples born in Brahmana families. They are bona fide spiritual masters who have the facility to worship the Shalagram Shila, which is worshipped with the deity. As of this writing, Shalagram Shila worship has not yet been introduced in our Krishna consciousness movement. but soon it will be introduced in all our temples as an essential function of Archana Marg, deity worship. So because only the Brahmanas are allowed to worship the Shalagram Shila, and now currently in ISKCON, yes, Shalagram Shila is being worshipped and in the temples, and some people who are qualified to worship the Shalagram Shila at home are allowed to worship that at home. Shalagram Shila is non-different than the deity himself. And so here just a little bit of background of the social structure Prabhupada is giving us. What was the social structure at the time of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's pastimes, which was about 500 years ago in Bengal. Tapana Mishrira Gare Bhiksha Nirvahana Sanyashira Sange Nahimane Nimantrana. As a matter of principle, Lord Chaitanya regularly accepted his food at the house of Tapan Mishra. He never mixed with other sannyasis, nor did he accept invitations from them. This exemplary behavior of Lord Chaitanya definitely proves that a Vaishnava sannyasi cannot accept invitations from Mayavadi sannyasis or intimately mix with them. So Varanasi used to be a place which was like a kind of a center point, like a hub for the Mayavadi sannyasis. But Lord Chaitanya would keep to himself. He would only be with the devotees and not mix with them. This is a bit long, the purpose. Maybe we could stop here for today. Did anyone want to add anything or have any comment?
No, all clear. I just want to ask that, so they are telling about the about Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, that what all he faced, how was his things going on, and then, right? That what was the society structure at that time, what was happening. So this, we are knowing about him. Like yesterday we knew about the Varanasi. So today they are telling about how the other Brahmanas were behaving at that time. They were Mayavadis and how he converted them, right?
That's right. That's right. How the other
But
sannyasis
then,
or Mayavadis, how the Brahmanas are just based on the caste system, and how they're just saying only Brahmanas who are born in family of Brahmanas are Brahmanas, everyone else is a Shudra. So they're not qualified to get initiation. But Lord Chaitanya, he gave anyone and everyone openly. Yeah, he was giving the Hare Krishna mantra openly, not in private, not that, it's all private only for you. No, take anyone and everyone.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Thank you so much for listening and joining in. And we'll stop here. Caitanya Caritamrita ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Gaur Bhaktavinda ki jai. Hare Krishna.